Second one, value creation is defined as the process by which an organization creates value for its stakeholders through its purpose, strategy, and business model, taking into account all resources, capitals, and relationships in an integrated way. So, similar to the first one, it's about effective use of a range of resources at the disposal of an organization, including strategy and processes, in order to generate value, I suppose good value, for its stakeholders. Stakeholders could be customers, could be staff, could be the public, could be government, could be other partners and alliances. Now, I think while these two are quite, commonly cited, it's not, perfectly aligned with the thrust of today's seminar. Because why? You may remember, there's also the second and the third important points of the seminar. Second one is customer experience, and the third one is digitalization. All right. So allow me to bring up this definition, which I like to operate at least for the rest of this seminar. I would say that value creation refers to the processes through which organizations enhance their existing offerings and or develop new offerings to provide more benefits, superior experience for its customers and partners, as well as increase its own profitability. So in other words, I think this is more succinct, right? More concise and more integrated, right? Because I bring in the element of the customer experience. So the way that, I'm going to go through the rest of the seminar, obviously through the key points, like what is that so special in the digitalized world that facilitates and enables customer experience to be so profound, as I said earlier, right? And secondly, what exactly is value creation in the digitalized world? And of course, we're not going to forget about precisely what is customer experience, how to generate customer experience, how to make it more impactful, how to make it more refreshing, new, so that customers like it, customers love it, customers accept it, because this is how value is being generated. I'm going to discuss these three terms in an integrated way. There's more. I'm going to make use of only one type of innovation, called business model innovation, to illustrate how the above, in other words, how to enable customer experience, to generate, how to enable value creation for customer experience in the digitalized world through the use of business model innovation. And finally, if I have a little bit of time, I will bring up some examples. Organizations, worldwide organizations, who have done very well, in terms of capitalizing the digital world and also generating value for their customers. All right, that's it. Let's go into our first topic. Digitalized world is not new. We are now, a quarter of the century into the 21st century. So, it's quite obvious to us. The digital world is lots of information abundance, available on the internet, available in the cloud. Lots of information that is available depending on where and how we can find it, how we can connect it. Lots of resources, right? And these resources are not only just IT resources and computing resources. This could be data, information, reports, and can even be people. I said it right. You heard it right. It can even include people. What people? Well, because people use systems that are in the internet. People use systems that are created in the cloud. So therefore, we can reach these people by connecting to the internet, by connecting to the cloud. So therefore, don't just look at the internet as just a static set of resources. You can actually, through the cloud and the connections, to reach out to people, to build trust. And that is very important and very beneficial if you know how to, make good use of it. So, to put it concisely, a key distinctive advantage of the digitalized world is the integration of resources, right? People, assets, information, data, solutions, computational resources, and more. And, to be more specific, information and knowledge also resides in the digital world. It's in the network. knowledge resides in the network. As I said earlier, it's very much up to us how to discover these nodes, how to connect with them, how to build trust in order to what? To expand our capabilities. You and I don't know everything. No way. Even large organizations don't know everything. We have to rely on external parties. And the digital world, with its massively connected networks, provide a perfect opportunity for us to reach out, explore the network, build trust, expand the capabilities, and exploit the network. Now, I would also say that digitalization accelerates, expedites the speed and the need to create value. Because if you don't do it, someone else will do it. Someone will do it faster than you. Small organizations can now compete with large organizations because of the advancement of digitalization. So in a nutshell, which I'll elaborate later on, how to generate value. How do organizations generate value based on data, information, and resources? In a heavily connected, digitalized world, you don't have to focus on this inner ring, right? Organizations typically collect data, analyze the data, generalize the data, reorganize the information, present them, connect them, make decisions, make predictions, discover trends, a combination of these activities to generate value. And we will see more precisely and specifically how values are being generated later on. But as I said, if you appreciate it, the digital world provides a canvas for such operations, a canvas for such data, massive amount of data to be collected, a canvas for resources, algorithms, artificial intelligence, and more to operate on this data, to store this data, and to make deductions on the data, to operationalize whatever the deductions are to yield advantages. These are, simple examples of firms that are successful in making use of digital data in the digital world, right? Virtual reality, supplementing the physical space with something imaginary, assisting in understanding, learning, and making decisions. Smart homes, smart devices, more automation, make our living easier, more pleasant, refreshing, and superior experience. More to come. Second, value creation. The very important concepts underpinning this whole seminar. The value creation, just by the sound of it, it sounds interesting, but it can be also quite abstract, right? And relative. What is value to you may not be value to me. What is value to you today may not be of value tomorrow, or at least may not be next month, because as society advances, we start to take things for granted. So therefore, value creation is a tiny term. It's a very relative and subjective. Closely associated with this term, value creation, is value capture, and I like to clarify using this particular slide. Firstly, the value creation, it's about the process of producing goods, services, or experiences that are valuable to customers, stakeholders, or the society. Fair enough. All right. So create value so that people appreciate it, right? So they like it, wow effect, and they enjoy it. Value capture on the right hand side here, it's about retaining a part of that value created, and turning it into profit, market share, or strategic advantage. In other words, reaping the benefits, right? So you may have generated some great idea, and you operationalize it by producing a new product or service. And through that, you start to retain a margin for profitability. That is value capture, right? And through that, you may create a patent, which will yield you a long-term, revenue stream. That's another value capture, right? So, needless to say, you have got two things. If you focus on value creation without focusing on value capture, what will happen? Well, then the firm may be popular, your product and services, people like it, but you are not making yourself profitable. So hence, in the long term, it's not sustainable, right? And, you are shortchanging yourself, right? You got good values, you generate the wow effect, but you didn't focus enough on capturing the value. On the other hand, if you don't generate value, but just working hard, just being faster, and you start to collect revenue and doing the value capture, you will soon be taken over. You'll be struggling to sustain your success as well. Why? Because there are newer models, more innovations to come at any time that would that will throw you off guard, right? Because you are not focusing on value creation. You're only focusing on value capture, presumably riding on some other models, some other value creation models that someone else has created. So you're not the originator, and you are not seen to be innovative. You are just being repetitive, possibly earning margins by doing it faster and cheaper. And that's not the long-term solution, as we all know it. Right, so how does an organization generate value, especially sustainable value? Okay, so we can go back to the basic principle. The basic principle is, an organization's sense about the environment, right? Knowing about what the market needs, knowing about its industry, know how to produce the product and services that is needed, properly identify the potential customers, the partners to work with, and then generate the necessary product and or services, informing the potential customers, satisfying them so that they eventually, to purchase. And that's generate revenue, money back into the company. And that's being used to reinvest in the research and development, reinvest in the purchasing of raw materials, reinvest in supporting its operations. Of course, I oversimplified it. And typically in our organization, there are many departments that one will have to look after as well. Logistics, procurement, product development, research and development, innovation, right? Human resources, legal department, customer service, human resources, and more. All right. So a successful organization typically would coordinate these activities, processes, control, and innovations in a balanced way to success. Again, I recall this definition that we have visited before about value creation, which is, the processes through which organization enhance the existing offerings or generate new offerings. Offerings can be a combination of product and or services for its customers, not just customers, but partners, the public. And at the same time, it can also enhance its own profitability or the quality of service if it is a non-profit organization. Well, if you understand what I've described to you in the last two slides, basically that's Michael Porter's, the principle of value chain, right? It's well documented. Typical management literature will cover it. That's about, about 5 decades old. Okay, while it's still valid, let's visit some of the value principles. What are the governing principles for the Porter model to be successful? Okay, at least in the past, right? Firstly, it's product service leadership. If you are successful, you have to be, a leader in the product and the services that you are generating. In other words, you rightly master, understand the need of the market. You're riding on top in terms of exactly what the customers need, what the market needs, and the trends are. Second, operational excellence. Your firm can produce the necessary product and or services efficiently, economically, reliability, and you can also scale, whether it's 500 or 50,000 or 5 million, you can easily scale and meet that demand and contract back to the original volume if you don't need to, right? So that's the flexibility and also the operational excellence. And thirdly, if you're also good, then you'll be excellent. That's on customer intimacy, right? It's about how deep and how individualized you understand your customers. The more individualized, the better, right? Right down to the individual customers. I'm a teacher, so I always try to understand each and every one of my students about their strengths and weaknesses, about their learning style, about their eagerness to learn, what motivates them to learn. If I can understand all that individually, Supposedly, if I have the time, I can customize my attention, learning content, learning sequence, teaching methods, and more for each and every one of the students. Of course, at the moment, we cannot do that because of timing and resource constraints, but that should not limit our ambition and thinking. So customer intimacy, many organizations try to pursue that with difficulty, I would say, if you have to push it down to the individual level, but at least maybe segments of customers. So, for example, eBay and Amazon have done it very well. When you purchase something, you try to look at similar customers to your profile and then cross-recommend to you, hey, the people who purchase or interested in the particular product, they've also purchased a similar product. Well, then most of the time it's quite accurate because, they have correctly aligned you with a segment of the market that is very similar, of very similar behavior and interest as yours, right? But still not right down to the individual level. All right, so in the past few decades, while these three disciplines were dominant, it has been very much almost the Bible. The best organization in the world typically can master at least two of these nearly perfect, right? You probably cannot master all the three because of the limitation of resources and the limitation of knowledge, right? But if an organization can do two of them very, very well, you're already extremely successful. Okay, in Asia, I'm not sure about Africa. In Asia, we tend to be better and place more emphasis on operational excellence. Typically, because in the past, the past is a guide. Labor cost is cheaper. Machinery cost is expensive. Technology it's expensive until more recent, right? So, the Asian businessman, the director, tend to throw more body at it to solve the problem, to accelerate the speed, because, the cost is manageable rather than having big investment for new technologies. So, and in Asia, we have to scale, we have to scale, we have to demand. So, therefore, typically, through no deliberate planning, the focus tends to be more on operational excellence in Asia. Okay, but today's digital world has changed many things. As you can see here, data is very important. Customer has more say. Customer can find out more about the market. Customer have higher expectations, right? Customer demand personalization, and they want to interact individually via different channels, convenient ways, especially mobile, tablets, desktop, and others, with the product firms or services firms. So these are new expectations and new demands that many organizations are not dealing it, in very well way. In other words, customers may be disappointing. But anyway, the trend continues. Customers very much dictate that journey now. It's if you are going to be successful, you need to be more customer oriented. You need to fulfill individual customers' need, not just what you produce, not just what you think your product is good, but it's being rated by the customer, not only on the product and services, but on the total experience of pursuing something, of enjoying something, of consuming something, right? Have a look at these firms, right? They, I would say that at some stage in the last 3 or 4 decades, during some time period, they covered the sky. Nokia, IBM, 3M, Nintendo. Are there more? Yes, of course, Kodak, Polaroid, Philips, Xerox, right? These are very famous companies. Many of them are still around. Some are not, but they are nowhere near the glorious days that they were a few decades ago. So what has went wrong with this company? What has been wrong? Of course, this is a very complex issue, and I'm not here to give you a simple solution, right? But one thing is common. Many organizations are still rooted their thinking in the third industrial revolution. Hey, what is the third industrial revolution? Well, I'll tell you more in a few minutes. But the third industrial revolution, obviously, is before the fourth industrial revolution, which is today. Right? The third industrial revolution is very much about cost containment. It's about efficiency. It's about enhancing productivity. It's about consistency. It's about quality. It's about meeting demands. Okay, so if you run a factory and you meet every one of the criteria I just mentioned, you should be very successful. Right? Low cost, reliable, quality output, and can scale, what else can you ask for? But today, while Porter's principles still apply, it's not enough. Success is no longer, success is no longer just the best of those three value disciplines. It's just not good enough. Even though if you have excellence in product service leadership, riding on top of operational excellence, and pursue customer intimacy, still not good enough. Well, it's very tough. It is. That's why many of the firms fail to make it. That's why, the Fortune 500 changes so many, to every few years. So have a look, if these words are constantly, coming up in your reading, then you are still stuck in the third industrial era, right? Because these are, the nominal terms that are being pursued by the philosophy of someone pursuing the third industrial revolution. Lowering costs, higher productivity, standardization, control, strong governance, scalability, right, and reliability. And in fact, in the third industrial revolution, there were big factories, automation, computers, right, to ensure, all these basic principles are being met, or most of them are being met to the best it can. Optimization is another word, in there. And in the third industrial revolution, education went as far as, or training went as far as, to train someone, to perform repetitively in a particular role, so that what? So that they are specialists in that particular role. They can do it fast, they can do it reliably, they can do it frequently, like a machine, right? But today, of course, that's no longer, the norm of operation. We need to be more diversified. We need to be multi-talent, skilled. We need to be innovative. So I'm going to play this 2.5 minute short video, which is a basic, recall of the different industrial revolution. I want you to focus on the fourth industrial revolution, which is now. What are the major winning, the formulas? What are the major things that would translate to success in the fourth industrial revolution?
Modern society has gone through three major eras of industrial revolution. Driven by the invention of steam and water power, the first industrial revolution took place in the early 19th century. However, work in all industries was still highly labor-intensive. The wide application of electrical technology hailed in the late 19th century, when manufacturing plants were built, laying out the infrastructure and processes for the mass production of products. Digitalisation in the 20th century gave birth to the third industrial revolution. Computational and data analysis technologies ensured consistent and efficient operation of processes. And machines could acquire a very basic form of intelligence to support decision-making. With the advancement of big data collection and transmission devices, software, and increasingly connected societies, we have stepped into the fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0, and it is symbolized by the real-time smartness exhibited by machines. So what exactly is the fourth industrial revolution? What's it like living in a world of the Internet of Things? Just how smart can machines be? Will robots take over our jobs? How can organizations and the onset of this disruptive force? This online course covers these fascinating topics and more. It is truly an eye-opener into smart products and services for future living. In a factory, such smartness can be manifested as the intelligent diversion and automation of processes, cyber-physical systems for enhanced modeling to support product design, and operations planning. A smart product can even predict its own potential breakdown, and thus alert the user to carry out preventative maintenance to avoid unexpected breakdowns. Massive personalization of products and services is now very real. Our cities are becoming more and more connected and smarter. The division of work between machines and humans is constantly becoming blurred and is being redefined. We can see this happening in the manufacturing, transportation, healthcare, logistics, and many other industries. Welcome to the world of Industry 4.0.
Right. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. By the way, that was an introductory video of a EDX course, edX.org, that I've created. And if you like, you can also pursue that course in an audit mode for free. Okay. So it's about Industry 4.0. So back to our topic here. Why did I show this video? Because I think it vividly shows about the importance and the opportunities of the Industry 4.0 world to us. What do you think? What are the opportunities and the fascinating things that Industry 4.0 brings to us? Is it about computers? No, computers was in the third industrial revolution. Is it about automation? No, automation again. And, distribution of resources and more are already in the third industrial revolution. Computers, automation, that is in the third industrial revolution. So what are the important things in the fourth industrial revolution? Thinking about it, okay? And allow me to enlighten you. I would say that it's about data and intelligence. Well, obviously, data is lots of data. Lots of data is being generated from different devices at different time, a huge volume and a huge speed of generation. It's also mean a huge speed of accumulation. Right? Algorithms being able to analyze a portion of this data and be able to generate summaries, identification of trends and patterns, generate predictions, and more, by analyzing such data or part of this data in real time. Combining the two, that brings success. The volume of data. Why is it so exciting? Well, because we are now getting data that we've never seen before. We're getting data that from devices that we've never seen before. That enables us to place more control, that enables us to monitor more effectively, more in depth, about every step of the process. So if something goes wrong, we start to notice it earlier, save time, save cost, and correct it. So again, save time and save cost. So exciting things that brought together by Industry 4.0, are not just technologies. There are 5 things I'd like to bring up. I mentioned about data and algorithms, but also integration, because increasingly data is being integrated into a platform or platforms that they can be reached. So in other words, algorithms can operate on a wider range of data. That means more accuracy. That means, more, appropriateness in terms of generating the recommendations. Automation, I'm not talking about automation in the third industrial revolution. I'm talking about additional automations because of the data, because of the algorithms, because of the integration platform that provides. So previously, non-automated decision points are now being, or part of it is being automated. That's excitement. As a human, you may realize that, hey, before I need to provide the input, now I don't have to, because the algorithm or the machine is able to work out, the likelihood of your decision, and then take it and proceed. That alleviates us to participate in making a decision. Okay, it replaces our decision because it's so confident in those cases, if you have automated correctly, that it spells correct, make the correct decision for the human. And finally, number 5, it's real time. No longer we have to wait. These automations, additional automations, these decisions, recommendations, predictions are all happening in real time. Real-time detection, real-time monitoring, real-time exception handling, real-time reporting, and real-time correction and predictions. Isn't that wonderful, right? So we'd be foolish not to make use of the opportunities offered to us in the Industry 4.0 world in the digital space. So, just more fundamentally speaking, so how can technologies enable, the the working of this data so that they become a wow effect to generate customer experience. Immediacy, to immediately providing the information that is needed to a human. Interpretation, situated information for the customer, for the viewer, rather than just generated information. Discoverability. Human is not good in spotting the trends and patterns among a huge volume of data. Machine is, right? So we can use AI, we can use machine learning to identify patterns and bring it to the attention of the human. Okay, accessibility, right? Various ways to assist in easy retrieval for for normal people, and also retrieval for people who may be handicapped in certain ways. Embodiment, embedment and embodiment of AI into existing processes, so that it works transparently. You don't even notice it, right? The intelligence is already built in. Personalization, everyone is asking for it. People want to be treated individually, right? So they want their personal preferences to be reflected in every step of the reasoning process, in every step of the output, recommendations, and more. Authenticity, that's a tough nut to crack. At the moment, I think you have to agree that the internet, there's a lot of waste, there's a lot of junk in there. So, there still requires a lot of human judgment, collaborative effort to identify the quality of the sources of the data. If in some cases we will have to personally authenticate or verify the information before we can trust it. So I think that that problem still exists, and it's not there's no short-term solution in sight at the moment. And of course, connecting the dots, right? Connecting me with other people, connecting me with the resources, connecting me with learning materials, connecting me with IT resources, and more, right? So discover and connect. Well, it's fair to say that digitalization, because of all that and more, truly accelerates the speed of the need to create value. As I said, with all these opportunities, with this ease of operation, with the advancement of the algorithms and the volume of data being accumulated, you don't do it, someone else will do it. Some AI programs will do it, and you'll be in no time you'll be taken over. So you can see that as some kind of evidence. In the past century, traditional inventions like videotape machines, radio, television, and more. It takes a few decades for the community to accept it, right? But if you look at the left-hand side here, more like left side of the curve, personal computers, internet, and cellular phone, it takes less than 10 years. And even more alarming is not shown here. For example, Facebook, and more recently AI, OpenAI's ChatGPT, it will take a few weeks, for the world to embrace it. So, it's a massive acceleration in terms of the adoption of innovative technology. There you go. And Moore's law is still happening, although it's not to the scale that it was originally, formulated. Moore's law says that every 18 to 24 months, the computational power would quadruple 4 times, and the cost will come down in half. While that acceleration is still happening, it may not be as acute as what I just described, but nevertheless, general principles is you can assume that come another 18 months, the cost will lower and computational power will increase. So that means even if you sit there and do nothing, with the same amount of money, in 18 months' time, there will be more computer resources, more grunt to solve more problems, to handle more data, right? So again, needless to say, if you sit there and don't do anything, opportunity will just pass you, and you'll be left behind in no time, as I said. All right, so let's talk about customer experience. Also a very important term in our seminar here. It's ultimately how someone on the receiving end feels and assess that is important, right? Now, over the last 20 years or so, if you are following consumer research, then I would say that some of the key terms that's in customer behavior or consumer behavior, purchasing behavior in particular, customer satisfaction, and now, been for about 10 years already. Customer experience, customer behavior satisfaction is not extensive enough. It's not comprehensive enough in order to truly measure whether something a customer is truly appreciative and enjoying it. We have to measure or ask the customer to express his or her experience, right? So if you are talking about just going to a restaurant, customer satisfaction could be looking at the menu and ordering dishes, trying out the dish. The chef may come out and you're satisfied with the dish today, and whatever your reaction, okay, that's based on the product or the service that's provided by the restaurant, okay. But there could be other things that could be affecting the customer's experience while he or she is dining, right? So those things may or may not be controllable by the restaurant. So customer experience attempts to measure the whole spectrum that constitute the totality of experience for a customer. So on the right hand side here, let me I can just play for a few seconds. One of the Chinese restaurants, in addition to serving good food, but their waitress can also make a dance that generate to a pleasure for the customers. Any waitress that you can call by and ask them to dance that dance to a famous song in that restaurant. So whether I have that. Oh, I don't have that. Okay, I'll play some other for you later on. So to me, customer experience is the feeling a customer derives out of his or her interactions with your organization. It's the combined impact of your organization's physical, digital, and human performances on the customer. So it's the total, the total channels, across all channels, the total feeling combined as experience, as expressed by the customer, right? This experience is often measured by comparing to the relative expectation of each individual customer. So it's subjective and it's relative, okay? So obviously, in terms of customer experience, again, if you're running a business, especially if it is a e-commerce style of business, you have to, line up your contact points with the customer. You have to make sure it's easy, convenient, effective for your customer to reach you. You need to be able to deliver customer consistent, information and services to your customer so that they're happy. They don't have to repeat everything, and you need to be standby 24/7 by 365 to serve them. You need to be, offering personalized services, not just generic information for your customers and more. Okay. So just some simple examples, hopefully, will charge you up to think about customer experience. Look at this one on the left. It looks like a cable car in San Francisco. What's it doing? Let me see. Oh, it's selling chocolates or marketing chocolates. So that's a refreshing experience to me. What about this one? Wow, that's a refreshing advertisement by Nescafe. Be careful next time before you enter 7-Eleven. Maybe they're running their marketing campaign. And more. On the left, it's a I don't know how to describe it. It's a new dining experience. It's you can have your dinner while watching a movie in a cinema. And this one is it's a merry-go-round of the self-cooked food, hot pot. It's like in a sushi restaurant, but it's Chinese. I think that's right. Okay. Now stay firm on your seat. It's not real. It's real, but it's not real. You know what I mean? right? You're watching a movie that that shows about a fire in the house. Now that is customer experience. If I got more, I got a few more. Okay, so firing pizza or pizza on fire. Okay, what about this one? Watch it. A chef is serving food in a book. Yes, in a book, but watch it. Another wow effect. Wow, Japanese sushi. Okay, well, maybe this one. If you are really keen, I can show more later on, but not now. Okay, so the writings on the wall, customer experience is now leading the growth of developing products and services. And it is very important that whatever product and services that we generate, it has to meet customer experience and exceeding it, right? Generating a wow effect. And businesses know about it, although this is a tough nut to crack. Businesses know about it, and they are investing in generating this superior customer experience for everyone. Now, coming back to on the theoretical side, so how do we enhance? Is there a way to help us to systematically think about how to enhance the customer experience? I found this piece of research very interesting. Assuming that you're going to a restaurant, right? So you make a reservation, and you arrive at the restaurant, you sit down, you relax with your friends, you ask for the menu, you check, and then you order, you consume the food and the drink, you enjoy, and then you pay your bill, and then you leave. All right. So this is the typical sequence of going to a restaurant, eat out. Okay. So every step in there, you are, I suppose, you are experiencing something. Hopefully, you enjoy it, right? And your total experience is, I suppose, right from the minute you start making the reservations to after you have settled the bill and walking out of the restaurant, okay? Because that's, to me, is the totality of the experience. So under that, I like to bring to your attention this piece of research that talked about, 36 decision points that we can enhance the customer experience. Once again, 36 decision points. Wow, there's a lot that we can enhance the customer experience. How come so many? Well, I was surprised originally too, but just follow me, right? There are 6 stages in the purchasing to consuming and the post-consuming, cycle or spectrum, right? So you purchase something delivered to you, you start using it. You may use it for a few minutes, you may use it for a few years or even a decade, right? And there may be supplements or accessories that you like to, use it together with as well, depending on what the product and the service is, right? You may need to, spend some time maintaining it to keep it going, and eventually it you may need to dispose it. Maybe it's consumed everything, you don't need to dispose it or nothing to dispose, but let's assume that there may be it's a kind of a tangible product, and even after it's broke down, you will still have to throw it away, so that's a disposal. All right, so you got 6 stages there. Okay, and each stage, the research also indicates that there are 6 levers that we can leverage on. First one, the customer productivity. How much involved is required for the customer in order to operate that step. So if you pair that with purchase, does it make it hard for the customer to purchase, right? Purchasing an air ticket, how hard and how easy it is, right? So the customer productivity. Second one is simplicity, how simple it is. Convenience, risk, fun and image. And finally, environmental friendliness. So each of the 6 utility levers can be applied to each of the stages, right? You got me? Say that again. Each of the 6 utility levers can be applied to each one of the 6 stages. So therefore, simple arithmetic, 6 by 6, you got 36 decision points. It's amazing. It's something looks like so simple. There are indeed 36 decision points that we can think about on and improve the customer experience. There you go. The purchase, delivery, use, supplements, maintenance, and disposal, the 6 stages in the purchase to disposal cycle, and the 6 levers: customer productivity, simplicity, risk, fun image, and environmental friendliness. So you can think about, buying a phone. You go through all these 36 stages. Eating an ice cream, obviously the disposal is not much, right? Because you consume everything and you have eaten it, right? So the disposal is nothing. And again, this is, seeking advice as a service, right? So the disposal could be something immaterial, but, purchasing it, using it, could be very, very material to you, especially where there's, fulfilling the objective that you have told the financial planner, for example, if it is a investment product. So at each of these 36 points, we can think about enriching the customer's experience. We can think about personalizing the customer experience, and we can think about innovating, creating new experience for the customer. Of course, there could be others as well, but let's make it simple. So at each of those 36 points, you can think about how to, to elevate or introduce a new customer experience by enriching already existing, personalize it, make it individualized for that customer, and or coming up with something new that the customer didn't expect, so that it creates a wow effect. Of course, wow is a positive wow rather than a negative wow, of course, right? So there you go. That's a utility map. I'm just making this arbitrary, so just to show you that you don't need to be a green dot on every point, but hopefully when you deliver or when you design your customer utility map, you've got quite a few that is green and minimum red, so that overall speaking, you are truly delivering the pleasant and superior experience for your customer. Right, over the years, as I said earlier, experience management, it's very important, increasingly important to lead the growth of products and services. So I hope that you appreciate the value and start to realign your planning of product and services to be in line with that. Okay, just very quickly on business model innovation. So how can we actually, introduce this value creation in one of the innovative methods called business model innovation? For those of you familiar with business model canvas, that's it's a 9-dimensional map that represents different parts of a business model. Okay, I'm not going into the detail of it, but you can look it up, and it's well documented on the internet and also textbook. All right. So I'm saying that an organization needs to interface with the rest of the world, right? So customers, suppliers, the public, and more. Okay, and he also has his internal operations, just like what the Porter value chain model has indicated. So firm boundaries, it's about adjusting some of these boundaries that the firm has with the external parties. Why adjusting? Because adjusting them would give you a new perspective about how something is being carried out. Adjusting them may affect your ownership and your care about certain processes or certain products, right? And adjusting them will give you, a systematic way of introducing something that is alternative. May not be innovative, but at least alternative, something that had not been carried out before, okay? So that you can constantly and systematically explore if there's a chance of innovative, superior experience. So when you talk about adjusting or sharing the boundary, it could be sharing work, sharing your staff, parting some of your staff and leave and let them join another company. Yet at the same time, they are still working on the same task, but owned by another company. Parting some of the roles and responsibilities that previously was done by one party, but passed to another party. Similar for control. Parting some of the physical premise that previously owned by one organization, but now being shared or reverted ownership into another organization. All right, and more. So with the business model canvas, we can try adjusting the boundaries in each one of these dimensions, and then see, in each one of these dimensions, and then see if there is a the innovative way of creating new customer experience. Now, before I leave this section here, I just want to say that business model innovation is just one of many ways to trigger value creation. Don't just think that this is the only way that you can generate value. There could be many other ways as well, but to make it simple and direct. So if you look at the business model canvas, right, it provides us with a comprehensive landscape of exploring different dimensions. So trying to change the boundaries of some of those dimensions that gave us an opportunity for some value creation. Okay, finally, exemplars of value creation. I make it simple. Well, no prize for guessing. You can look at, for example, Apple. They pride on creating new experience by creating a whole new dimension of, for example, the use of data, entertainment. The invention of the iPad, of the iTunes, and more. Okay. Amazon's approach is to provide integrated web services on demand for the customer. So make it very simple for customer to include or exclude particular services. Tencent also pride itself in the use of social media and data to create innovative services for the customers. And also Xiaomi, it's another Chinese firm specialized in mobile phone. They are also very strong in the use of data from Internet of Things devices and try to integrate that to make our living into a smarter home, smart services, and smart products. With something in common among these successful firms, firstly, they drill on data. They have access to a lot of data. They are making good use of the data and for their advantage in generating summarization and also the predictions. Okay, and that drives the decision making. Second, they have global offerings, but also to customize their service and products for local audiences. Okay, so they have got that business model right, so that they can scale up and reach a huge number of customers. And of course, being engineering firms, they are also very strong in collecting feedback and feed that into continuous improvement. So the innovation is perpetual and ongoing, and they've done it very, very well. Right, before I close, I just want to say that why I have a very positive upbeat about value creation in a digitalized world for customer experience. There are the huge challenges, additional challenges in addition to those that are just bordering to innovation. For example, regulatory control, including data privacy by various countries, that may restrict the collection, access, and the flow of data. Okay, rapid technological change make it very hard to ride on top of it and keep up with it. Integration issues, to say is easy, but doing integrations is never simple. Put it this way, especially trying to reach data in the legacy system. Cybersecurity threats, and they are all around us, and unfortunately, it's something that for most countries they are subject to a lot of attacks. Okay, talent acquisition and skill development, and that's a corollary of the rapid technological change. It's very hard to keep a team with the necessary resources, right, and skills. Okay, because the skill and the talent is changing so rapidly. Building trust is already difficult. Building e-trust in digital networks is even more difficult. Okay, it takes time for us to understand each other, human and human, physically, to build trust. So e-trust is even more difficult, right? And of course, in a harmonized world, we have to develop customized, sustainable, and inclusive solutions that add another dimension of demand in the design of products and services as well. So hopefully, with advancement of research, many of these issues will become less troublesome, and be able to let us design product and services better. So that's my content. I like to leave it there. I think I'm right on the dot in finishing this seminar. I'll pass it back to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Su, and it was very enlightening. I don't know for others, but I really enjoyed your lecture. I would now open up the floor for any questions. If there are any questions, I insist again, if you want to speak, just raise your hand and I'll call you. Otherwise, I think there's some questions in the messages. Professor Su?
Yes, there's one. In the past fast-paced digital world, trends and technologies are constantly changing. How can we build something long-lasting, fundamental value that won't become obsolete overnight? That's an excellent question. Okay, of course, I don't have the perfect solution to that. My advice for my colleagues and my students and graduates are to future-proof yourself. Try to find a common baseline. Try to export and save what you have done. Try to find a platform that observes certain standards so that you can import and export what you have done. So that at least you don't have to repeat the things again, right? But also need to prepare for a positive mindset. That mindset is prepare to drop what you are doing now and move on to a new platform, because that will happen forever, right? No platform will be perpetual. So we have to prepare for this positive mindset, ready to give up and move on and continue with what we have done in another platform, together with the future-proof strategies.
All right, thank you. As earlier stated, if there are any that want to participate, you can kindly raise your hand and then Professor Su will answer your questions directly. All right, it seems that there are no questions left. That said, thank you very much, Professor Su, for such a wonderful and enlightening lecture that you've given to us, and I enjoyed. This lecture, for those that have not been able to attend, will be published further on. But I would like to say once more, thank you to the Tamkin community, and thank you to all our viewers who have attended today's lecture, and more so, thank you, Professor Eric Su, for giving us such a wonderful lesson. We'll close this lesson.
Thank you. Talk to you next month.
See you next month.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.